Do you ever see how good Eddie Murphy is still at stand-up? Do you ever see that speech that he gave?
What speech?
Let me tell you something right now. If Eddie Murphy decided to just do stand-up tomorrow, he would be at the top of the heap.
No, you're crazy. I'll tell you why.
He's old, out of shape.
I want to show you something.
You have to do reps. You have to bomb. He's not willing to bomb.
I love you all. I love you all.
I think he's great.
He's getting an honest rep somewhere to practice.
I think you're 100% correct. Here's my perspective. If he was doing reps, he'd be even better.
Of course.
You have to do reps.
I'm saying you're absolutely correct. But I'm saying the level he's at without doing reps is so high.
Agreed.
That if he decided to do stand-up again, if you watch him give this speech, he gives a speech, he does a Bill Cosby impression. It's fucking magic, dude.
Okay.
His timing is sensational.
He's gifted.
Don't be.
Nobody said he's not gifted.
I want you to be open-minded.
He's gifted.
No.
I'm open-minded, but you got to practice. Okay, let's hear it.
No, listen, you fucks. Of course you have to practice.
Those two, not me,
but
Joe.
I'm saying,
Joe,
if you haven't done, let me tell you something. Before we go further, Roseanne Barr went on stage after I don't know how many years at our show at the Vulcan like 3 weeks ago.
Really?
She fucking crushed.
No way.
She hasn't been on stage in years. She didn't know she was going to go up until 10 minutes before she went up. Stanhope and Ron White talked her into doing stand-up.
That's awesome.
And she goes on stage, and the audience goes fucking insane, and she kills.
No way.
She kills. She's self-deprecating. She's talking about how crazy she is. She's so loose. Her timing is on, and she hasn't done stand-up in years.
It does click in.
But here's what I'm saying. As good as she is right then and there, she was an all-time great. We forget.
Domestic goddess, yeah.
Roseanne's an all-time great. So when you see her there, if she was doing like regular reps, she'd be way better. That's how good Eddie Murphy is. Eddie Murphy is so good that if you see him in this speech, no reps at all. But doing acting and, of course, hanging around with funny people and talking shit. I'm sure.
Being on stage.
Watch this. It's 100% different than being on stage. By the way, this is the worst environment ever for stand-up. We agree?
That right.
This is the worst environment.
Weird crowd, though.
Weird crowd.
They're all into him.
And they love him already.
Yeah, they love him already.
But let's see. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll give a fair. I mean, we're all agreeing. He's a master.
I'd like to see him.
Okay, don't be a hater.
He's a beast. He's one of the greats.
It's a tremendous honor. Wonderful evening. I'd like to thank the Kennedy Center, first of all, for celebrating me and honoring me in such a wonderful way and bringing my loved ones and my family here. This is a super special, memorable night. And thank you to all the comedians that came out and sang. And Sam Moore came out and sang, and Alabama Shakes was here. We had a really, really, really special night. Hasn't been lost on me that, usually when people have evenings like this, a person is really, really old when they get these awards. They'll let you wait. Really, like one of the greatest, funniest people of all time was George Carlin, and he received this award posthumously. And he's funnier than all of us. So to be standing here alive and looking like myself still, they let you get really old until it's And there was also some confusion about whether or not it was an award or a prize. And actually, it's an award. Even though they call it a prize, it's an award. Because usually when there's a prize, there's money involved.
Killing.
Was that written?
No, it's all written.
Some paper. I was like, yo.
No, it gets better. It gets way better.
Award. Kennedy said that sounded like paper.
He's receiving an award.
Then he told me yesterday that they raised $2.3 million. I was like, yo, I'm in there. Then I came down and they told me that there is no, it's a prize, but there is no money. And I was like, So I think to clear up the confusion for future recipients, maybe you don't want to call it the Mark Twain Prize. Maybe you might want, if you don't want to call it the award, maybe you could call it the Mark Twain Surprise.
Wordplay.
Crap. Now switch to Dave Chappelle's and watch a real comic. It's still on.
It does
Surprise, of
Bill
course,
Cosby
you ain't getting no
Play
money.
Mussolini.
He's a killer.
That motherfucker kills.
But that still doesn't diminish how wonderful this is. A wonderful, wonderful thing to be
At this point, I'm
included
rooting
with
for
some
him.
of my
I'm rooting for my
heroes,
memory to be
Pryor,
correct.
It's wrong.
George
I think that was all off the cuff, which is still pretty good.
Carl Reiner, Lily Tomlin. Who else got this? Bill has one of these. Did y'all make Bill give his back? No, because I know there was a big outcry from people. They was trying to get Bill to give his trophies back. You know you f***ed up when they want you to give your trophies back.
Now he's being himself.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
Trophy back too? He should do one show where he just come out and just talk crazy now. I would like to talk to some of the people who feel that I should give back my trophies.
They bleeps out the bad words because you can't handle them.
Just because you may have heard recently that I allegedly put the pill into people's chocolate. I wish somebody would come up to my house talking about giving up the trophy because you put the pill into people's chocolate. You get no. I'm not giving back.
I wish this was uncensored.
Yeah.
And who is Hannibal Barris? Hannibal Barris. First of all, Hannibal is a caveman's name. And you don't just come on out and push over the apple cart to Hannibal. If I ever see or meet this Hannibal Barris in person, I am going to try to kill this nigger.
Why didn't they put that out?
Wow. That's
That's the only thing that's not beat.
Well, he's black.
PBS.
And Hannibal is.
I think they felt like they didn't have the right.
I bet they discussed it.
I bet they felt like we don't have the right to discuss
bet they did.
Everybody
For real, that's
here
PBS.
coming out and making
Tell
me
it to
feel so
Kramer.
wonderful.
So, like, think about it. The guy's not done any stand-up.
All right, it was fine. No,
Pretty good.
Nobody's like, that's
Pretty
amazing.
good.
Nah.
Terrible
All right.
environment. Terrible
All right,
environment.
you always an asshole.
I'm just saying.
Standing
people
O.
hate me.
Standing
Of
O.
course, they're
Yeah,
sycophants.
standing O, he's getting a fucking
That's true.
Go
lifetime
do
achievement
it.
award.
Go actually try it and do it for a while. No
Well,
fucking way.
I'm just
Mark,
saying,
you
if
know
he
you're on my
did-
side.
I'm on your side,
I'm
too.
not.
This is where you're wrong. I am on your side, too. I know what you're saying.
That one was
But I'm saying that he's so talented, that's how good he is without doing it.
Yeah,
If he
yeah.
started doing it again, he would be a killer. Everybody, like
So
for a
do it
lot of
again.
guys who hadn't done it in a long time, why are you so angry?
Because whatever. Everyone talks
so
about it. He's like, oh, he's going to be amazing. Well, do it then.
Didn't he sign a deal with Netflix?
Yeah, but
too?
how about that?
Yeah, I don't know. That fell through. He doesn't need it. You got to need it a little bit.
I think he
Yeah.
probably might need it.
Maybe he knows you got to go on stage every day for a year.
He's
And he's
got
like,
a lot of residuals coming in. He's fine.
Where would you go? You know, what do? You go right to the clubs?
Yeah, I don't know.
People are gonna come to see you.
Where are you going to go?
You gotta
Go to
promote it.
Iceland for
You
a
gotta
while.
drop in.
Work
You
out,
gotta
bro.
drop in. You
You
gotta
gotta
drop
drop
in.
You got to label it
drop in.
workout.
But every night for a long time.
Don't you think you kind of gotta drop in?
Yeah, you got to drop in.
Yeah.
He could never drop in though.
But at least
Yeah,
some
He
level
could.
of like,
He could do it.
some
could pull up
kids
to
are
the
like,
ha-ha.
I kind of know what
Yeah,
you're
but
talking about.
every single person.
They start tweeting
Yeah,
when
they
he's
tweet.
there.
But once
but
he's
they would
there,
know,
if he's
like,
only gonna do 5-10 minutes, he can get away with a drop in.
You do a real drop in.
There might be a good move to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, go up on someone's show where it's introduced like you haven't done stand-up in forever, and you just go up there.
No,
and-
just go
and
up
say,
all the time. You can do the best you can do. He's just famous. He can't get an honest reaction, but he can get
Right.
as close as he can get.
That's the hard part of him dropping in because the first 5 to 10 are going to be
Right.
But some 19-year-olds, like,
Forgiven.
I
You know
kind
what's
of know
weird?
him.
Was he testing people? Was he just letting anybody in? How did he do it?
What's that?
At Helium during the middle of COVID.
No, dude. I don't think testing.
If you could fill it
He
up.
spaced it
More
out.
than
that
that,
way or
do it.
something.
Yeah, I don't think.
Space it out.
Yeah, you space it
That
out.
shit does not work at all.
Not at all.
No glass or
That
anything.
6 feet thing, that's so crazy.
You get 180 people indoors going, ha, ha.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, how's that going to work?
That was disproven Totally disprove it.
Yeah, but
later.
there was no precedent. There was no like.
Wow, for sure.
Do you guys have vaxes? There was no vaxes. Dude, we were just.
When time goes by and we look back on the time during COVID of stand-up and trying to do stand-up during COVID and what Bert did when he did the drive-in theaters and what we all did with podcasts and it's fucking crazy.
Rooftops, parking lot.
The New York City, like 5 to 10 year comic scene just said, we're not going away. We'll create shows.
In LA, they wouldn't let them. They wouldn't let them do outside shows. It's one of the worst things about the way they handled, for comedy, the pandemic. They wouldn't even let them do outside shows.
You have rats.
It's like they were trying to kill comedy.
Right.
I don't know. When New York did the whole fucking upstairs show, like rooftop shows, it was like, I'll just do the road. I'll just go do the states.
You gotta get a workout
states that don't care.
Yeah, I did both.
New York Comedy Club's rooftop was great. Tiny Cover was great.
Well, I did Texas in July of 2020 with Brian Moses and Hinchcliffe. We did the Improv in Houston. It was fucking great. And we were flying back, and we were like, you know what? We're back. Fuck this. We're doing comedy. But then I got back to my podcast studio, and I got super duper high. And I thought, oh my God, what if I killed somebody? What if I gave COVID?
Of course.
Nice person who came on my show, and I give it to them. I'm like, it's too risky.
Their dad.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
But then they started having like real testing. And then testing came around. And when we came here, we have nurses. You remember nurse. We test every fucking day. And then we did these shows at Stubbs, the outside shows. And the outside shows that I was doing with Dave were fucking amazing. And I was like, wow, this is the way we could do comedy. We do it this way. Everybody gets tested. We have a COVID bubble. But then we did one show at the Vulcan on a Thursday night in December. And it was packed. There was no social distancing. Everybody was hammered. And it was like a regular show. And Ron White went up there and fucking murdered. He hadn't done any comedy in like 8 months. He was saying he was retired. Basically, I'm retired. I'm going to sell my boat. I'm going to sell my plane. I'm going to fucking play golf. Like, he's a shit ton of money. He's done it all. And he's like, I'm done. And then Tony was like, we're going to do this show Thursday night. You should come on and just do a set. Just do 10 minutes. Ron White goes up there and annihilates. And then I'm walking towards the stage. I was after him. He grabs me by the shoulder. He goes, we're going to keep doing this. What the fuck happened? We're going to keep doing this.
That was the best part. That was the best part of COVID. It was like, you go into, like, the first time I did a full room was Hyenas in Texas. Because I was up north where it was all shit. And then you go to Hyenas and you walk into a room and you're like, you're scared.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're like, holy shit, this is crazy.
Yes.
Like, I'm not, like, afraid of COVID, but, like, you guys are fucking crazy.
When we did Vulcan,
dude, it was
Vulcan
awesome.
was the perfect because it was jammed. There was like 290 people in there, low ceiling, a lot of fucking hard surfaces, so the echo. I was like, oh my God, this is way better than outside comedy.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Outside comedy is bullshit.
Right, but we knew that before COVID, and then during COVID, we're like, no, outside's pretty good.
I
sucked.
I saw Burr outside in Dripping Springs in the middle of the pandemic, and he fucking killed. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
People were happy to be out, too.
I was happy to be out. It was a great show.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong. But that same show, put a roof over it, people would have had fucking strokes.
Forget
They would have had heart.
about it.
We were all hanging out at Central Park once. You might have been there with Liz and everything, and Louis showed up, and Sarah, Joe List's wife, had to go across Central Park to do an outside show under a
I
tree.
remember that.
And he goes, I just can't. Louis was like, I can't just inside where the laughs are bouncing off. I just
Yeah,
want that
because
back.
you wouldn't do Hamilton outside. It just doesn't work. It's any performance. It's not just comedy. Like I did those parking lot shows where they'd flash the beams and then they'd honk. If you really killed, you got the wipers. But they were brutal. But you just had to get out of the house. You had to kind of do comedy.
It's better than no comedy.
Exactly.
The best thing was like at the stand, the front patio. You guys all did it, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like the show was whatever, but then afterwards was hanging out with Tell and you guys just staying out there for 4 hours to like, oh, we're friends again.
Yeah, but all you had to do was the road.
Right?
And you would never, dude, I mean, I was in states that didn't care.
Texas, Florida.
Yeah.
Dude, all of it.
Florida never cared.
No, I didn't.
Florida never cared.
Florida.
Never cared.
Yeah.
Never.
And then I would drive or fly home, and then all of a sudden you'd land and be like, oh shit, there's a pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you would land and be like, oh, this is scary.
But meanwhile, when you look at like Florida, when you adjust for age, they didn't do any worse than anybody else
Isn't
did
that
that
weird?
locked down.
Yeah.
It's a respiratory illness. People get it. They're gonna get it. the best thing anybody could have ever done is like take care of yourself and seek medical help immediately upon catching it. Get a good doctor, get good treatment if you're lucky. This is all pre-vaccination, right?
Yeah.
But locking people down didn't do shit. It didn't help.
But you got to give New York's an exemption.
Fuck New York. You know what I mean?
Wait.
It was the worst city in the world.
I don't give a fuck. Fuck New
We're all
York.
on top
LA
of
was
each
just
other.
as bad. At least New York let you do outside shows already.
No, but
LA was
I'm
worse.
saying in like March or April of that 2020, it was the worst city for COVID in the world. So it was like, just the numbers were crazy there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
So
because China was like, no, we're done with COVID.
And so it was like, oh shit.
No, we
what
don't
are
have
do? So like, I get why it was on our minds, but then we started doing outside shows.
Yeah, but also like New York, if at the beginning New York was like, fuck it, it's not real. You know how many old fucking Jews would have died? They would have fucking. That would have been a
It's
hell.
funny you said that because like the Orthodox Jewish community,
Hasidic,
was
They didn't give a shit.
They didn't
they were
stop
out
doing
partying,
anything.
dude.
They were getting arrested.
Yeah, they were getting
Yeah,
arrested.
they
we're
kept
doing it.
inbreeding.
Yeah.
It was just the Hasidic. Wasn't Orthodox or just the Hasidic?
Orthodox were they weren't doing
The
that.
Hasidics
They
were
like,
the one group in New York. They were like, no.
No, yeah. Fuck
It's so
that.
weird because they try to make it a redneck thing, but then there's also these other spots that don't quite fit in. Hasidics or the Crystal people in like Berkeley,
Yes.
who are like also anti-vax.
The
It's like
hippies.
you try to make it one thing, or like the Joe Rogan fans are all meatheads. Like no, there's psychedelic heads and there's meatheads and there's all these different styles. You want to make it one thing, but it's not.
No. We do that. We try to put everything in a bin.
That's the internet. That was
Simplified.
highlighted in that movie, The Social Dilemma. I mean, what's going on with like this division that people are experiencing right now.
Right,
Like, we were talking about what happened during the pandemic when everybody was at each other's throats. That's part of it. Is that what you said is perfect? That now they're forced to be online. They're online way more, so it's hitting them even harder. So you got the anxiety of the pandemic, and then you got a lot of people's careers were disappearing.
Yeah.
A lot of people's livelihood, all their savings, and then you're worried about dying from a fucking infectious disease
Yeah.
that was probably made in a lab. And you're
Right.
like, holy shit, is
Mom
this
and pop
real?
shop.
Hey, let me ask you a question I've never
It's also
got.
fun to say, probably.
Yeah, when I hear about this,
It was.
they go, we can say it's made in a lab, we can't say it's made in a lab, now we can say it's made
Now
in a
you
lab.
can.
What
No.
is the benefit or negative of being able to say it's in a lab or
All right,
not?
I'll answer that.
Truth.
Okay.
Here's the truth. If you say it was made in a lab, somebody needs to be held accountable.
Oh, they won't help
And
to
the
like cure it?
dudes that are in power that should be held accountable are like, no. That's
the only reason.
some
just to hold
Chinese
this
guy
one
ate a
accountable?
fucking armadillo.
No, there's
Wet
no
market.
there's no solid direct proof. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence. There's a lot of evidence. There's a lot of like emails back and forth. There's a lot of shit that points to that lab in Wuhan. A lot of shit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lying about what is and what isn't gain of function research and whether or not they were doing it, whether or not they were funding it. They most fucking certainly were.
And what do
And they
liberals have?
continue to fund it.
What do liberals have to gain by saying it was not made in a lab?
Because
Why
it's on
would they
the
care
team,
either
because
way?
That's
He
their
is
team.
Fauci.
Their team at the top is Fauci,
Yeah.
who's absolutely connected
And he says it's not, so now we
to
all
the
know it's
lab
not.
that made the fucking thing.
Yeah.
But then they call it racist if you call it the Kung Flu or whatever. But then Asian people are getting beat up, but nobody talks about that.
What do
Well,
you mean?
because it's black people beating up the Asians, so you're like,
Black homeless people.
Exactly. It's like, do you really care? Or not? Do you really give a shit?
I don't want to ruin Chappelle's joke. Do you ever hear that one?
Which one?
No.
Where he's like, I got COVID, my immune